In January 1987, France's most sensational newspaper called a phone in Paris. They said, "We know she is dead. We are printing her obituary on page 1 of tomorrow's edition. We just need to know the cause." The voice on the other end was her partner. He said 2 words, "She is alive." The newspaper printed it anyway. The woman they were burying alive was 31 years old. She had 2 Oscar nominations, 2 Cannes Best Actress awards, and a face that Truffaut said acted as if her life depended on it. Her crime? She had said on French television that her father was Algerian, and France had answered with a whispered rumor that she was dying of AIDS in a hospital in Marseille. Her name is Isabelle Adjani. She is 70 years old today, and she did not die. Isabelle Yasmin Adjani was born on June 27, 1955, in the 17th arrondissement of Paris. Her name was a passport between 2 worlds and a target between 2 enemies. Her father, Mohammed Sharif Adjani, was a Kabyle Algerian Muslim from a mountain village called Iferhounen. He worked in a garage in Gennevilliers, a tough northwestern suburb of Paris. Her mother, Emma Augusta Schweinberger, was a Bavarian German Catholic. The household ran in 2 languages. The world outside the household ran on contempt. Isabelle grew up bilingual, speaking French and German fluently. She was the daughter of an Algerian in a country that had just lost a vicious colonial war in Algeria. She was the daughter of a German in a country that had not forgiven the occupation. She was, by accident of birth, the wrong half of 2 different prejudices at once. At 12, she won a school recitation contest. At 14, she made her first film. At 17, she joined the Comédie Française, the oldest and most prestigious theater company in France, and became the youngest performer in its history to be granted contract status. She played Agnès in Molière's School for Wives. Critics gasped. 3 years later, François Truffaut asked her to play Adèle, the doomed daughter of Victor Hugo, in a film. The Comédie Française refused to release her. Adjani walked out. She caused a national scandal, and then she made the film, and the film changed everything. The story of Adele H. premiered in 1975. Adjani was 19 when she filmed it, 20 when the world saw it. She played a woman descending into obsession over a man who could not love her back. And she did it with a face so wide open, so completely undefended, that critics struggled to describe it. The Academy nominated her for Best Actress. She was 20 years old. She became the youngest Best Actress nominee in Oscar history, a record she would hold for almost 30 years. Hollywood opened its arms. She turned away. She has spoken about Hollywood as a city of fiction. She said, "I am not an American. I did not grow up with that will to win an award." Truffaut watched her refuse and said, "France is too small for her. She is made for American cinema. She made it anyway. She made it in French. She made horror, period drama, comedy, tragedy. She played Lucy in Werner Herzog's Nosferatu in 1979, that porcelain face staring into the camera as if it had already seen everything. She played Anna in Andrzej Żuławski's Possession in 1981 and ran through a Berlin subway tunnel in a blue dress, howling, oozing, becoming the most violent breakdown ever filmed by a leading actress. That same year, Cannes gave her the Best Actress award for 2 different films in the same competition. It had never been done before. It has never been done since. She was 25 years old. In 1986, Adjani sat down for an interview. She was disgusted by the rise of Jean-Marie Le Pen and his racist National Front Party in France. So she did something French stars do not do. She spoke about her father. She said the word Algerian. She talked about the racism of her own childhood. She later remembered it this way: "After that, it was as if I was not French anymore." The whispers started almost immediately. By late 1986, all of France believed Isabelle Adjani was dying of AIDS. People claimed to know the hospital in Marseille. People claimed to have seen the death certificate. The truth, which she would only explain years later, was almost laughable. She had been in Los Angeles with Warren Beatty. She was suffering from terrible allergies and going for antihistamine injections almost every day. Paparazzi photographed her entering a medical clinic. The rest the press invented. In January 1987, the newspaper France Soir telephoned her partner, the cinematographer Bruno Nuiten. They told him they were printing her obituary on the front page of the next day's edition. They needed the cause of death. He told them she was alive. They printed it anyway. Days later, Adjani walked onto the 8 o'clock news on French television to prove she was breathing. She looked into the camera. She said, "There are enough real sick people in this world. I do not need to be invented as another one." She was 31 years old. The rumor did not fully die, but Adjani had a way of answering attacks. She worked. For years, she had been preparing a film about Camille Claudel, the brilliant French sculptor who became Auguste Rodin's mistress and muse, then was locked away by her own family for 30 years and forgotten. Adjani raised the financing herself. She bought the rights. She convinced Gérard Depardieu to play Rodin. She convinced her partner, Bruno Nuiten, who had never directed, to direct. Camille Claudel premiered in 1988. Adjani won the Silver Bear in Berlin. She won her third César. She was nominated for her second Academy Award, becoming the first French actress in history with 2 Oscar nominations for foreign language films. She later said, "Camille saved me." I had just been through that appalling AIDS rumor. I understood exactly how it feels to be condemned for nothing. When she accepted that third César in 1989, she walked to the microphone and read aloud from Salman Rushdie's Satanic Verses, while a fatwa against the author was still active and most artists were silent. She has never been quiet for safety, but the next blow came from her own private life. She had been in a 6-year relationship with the British actor Daniel Day-Lewis. In 1995, she became pregnant with their son, Gabriel Kane. Day-Lewis disappeared. He had asked to be present at the birth in New York. He came briefly afterward, looked at the baby, and left. She later learned he had spent that trip with another woman. Her answer was one sentence: "Daniel is behind me. What is in front of me is my future as a woman, as a mother, and as an actress." Now look at her at 70. Her hair is still long and dark. Her skin is still that famous porcelain. Her eyes are still that impossible cobalt blue. Her style is pure French dissonance: black wool coats, faux fur hats, gold chain necklaces over silk, dark oversized sunglasses, indoors and out. She sits front row at Dior, at Chloe, at Messica. She wears Victorian taffeta to awards ceremonies and leather to lunch. On her beauty, she has been almost silent. She does not endorse creams. She does not film tutorials. When the press wrote that her face was the result of bad surgery, she did not respond. When the press wrote that she had vanished, she returned in her own time, in her own roles. She once said, "An early case of false news taught me everything. People believe what they want to believe, so you stop trying to convince them, and you start trying to live." That is the Adjani style code. Refuse to perform aliveness for an audience that already wrote your obituary. So what does Isabelle Adjani teach us? 3 things. First, speak even when speaking costs you. In 1986, she said one true thing about racism in France, and France punished her by inventing her death. She has never stopped saying true things since. In February of 2026, at the César Awards at the Olympia in Paris, she asked every man in the room to stand up for women who are victims of violence around the world. The entire ceremony stood. Speaking costs. Silence costs more. Second, the people who buried you are not the people you owe anything to. When France Soir was printing her obituary, she was alive. When tabloids invented a fax breakup with Day Lewis, the actual story she lived was worse than the facts. She has had decades to settle scores in interviews. She has not. She simply outlived the rumor. Third, you do not have to be loved by everyone to be free. Truffaut once said she acts as if her life depended on it. At 70, the same is true of how she lives. She does not perform. She does not convince. She simply continues. She once said one sentence that contains the whole story. People believe what they want to believe. So you stop trying to convince them and you start trying to live. So here is my question. What rumor about your life are you still spending your energy disproving? Whose story about you are you still trying to correct? Tell me in the comments. I want to know. Because Isabelle Adjani was buried alive by France at 31, and at 70, she is still here. Still impossible to define. The woman they wrote off has outlived every page that wrote her off. Thank you for watching. Stay bold, stay true, and I will see you in the next one.